What if the person who needs you the most is also the person making your life the hardest? What if the student who disrespects the teacher is actually screaming for someone to believe in them? What if the patient who snaps at the nurse is terrified of being abandoned again? What if the child who pushes you away every single day is the one lying awake at night praying that you won't leave? We live in a world where we celebrate easy relationships and quietly abandon the hard ones. But what if the hard ones, the ones that drain you, challenge you, exhaust you, what if those are the relationships that matter the most? Today, I want to talk to every teacher, every parent, every nurse, every social worker, every human being who has ever given everything they had to someone who gave nothing back. I want to talk about why the most needed people are often the least appreciated and why showing up anyway might be the most powerful thing you will ever do in your entire life. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might change the way you see every difficult person in your life forever. What if the most important work you will ever do in your life is also the work that goes completely unnoticed, unappreciated, and sometimes deeply disrespected? Think about that for a moment. Sit with that uncomfortable truth, because somewhere in this room or somewhere watching this, there is a teacher who has stayed after school for years for students who never once said thank you. There is a mother who has sacrificed sleep, dreams, and personal joy for a child who treats her like she is invisible. There is a social worker who drives into the most broken neighborhoods with nothing but hope in their hands and comes home feeling like they have failed. There is a nurse, a counselor, a mentor, a friend who keeps showing up, keeps giving, keeps caring for people who seem determined to make them feel worthless for doing so. And the world looks at these people and says, why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep giving to people who don't appreciate you? Have some self-respect, walk away. But I want to ask a different question today. I want to ask, what if walking away is the easiest thing in the world, but staying is the bravest? What if the people who disrespect you the most are not doing it because you are weak, but because you are the first person who has ever been strong enough to actually show up for them? Let me tell you about the human heart when it is wounded. When a person has been hurt enough times, abandoned enough times, betrayed enough times, let down enough times, something happens inside them. They build walls. Not because they don't want connection, not because they don't desperately, achingly need love and belonging and respect, but because every time they have opened that door in the past, someone has walked through it and broken something inside them. So they learn to protect themselves the only way they know how, by pushing people away before those people can leave on their own terms. And here is the devastating irony. Here's the heartbreaking, painful, stunning truth. The people who have been hurt the most, the people who need human connection the most, the people who need someone to believe in them the most, these are the exact people who are the hardest to reach. They are the ones who will take your kindness and look at it with suspicion. They are the ones who will take your generosity and respond with hostility. They are the ones who will take your love and throw it back at your face, not because they hate you, but because they have never been taught that love is safe. And when you are on the receiving end of that, when you are the one offering kindness and getting hostility in return, it does something to you. It chips away at you. It makes you question yourself. Am I doing enough? Am I doing it wrong? Am I fooling myself into thinking I can help? And slowly, quietly, the most dangerous question of all starts to form in your mind. Am I wasting my time? I want to speak directly to that question right now. You are not wasting your time. But I also want to be honest with you, because real courage requires honesty. You cannot help anyone if you lose yourself in the process. This is where so many caring people make the most painful mistake of their lives. They confuse compassion with self-destruction. They believe that if they just give a little more, sacrifice a little more, hurt a little more, eventually the other person will change. Eventually the student will say thank you. Eventually the difficult family member will soften. Eventually the person they are pouring into will pour something back. And sometimes, beautifully, miraculously, that does happen. But sometimes it doesn't. And you need to be prepared for both possibilities without letting either one define your worth. Because here's what nobody tells you about helping people. Nobody tells you that genuine compassion is not a feeling, it is a practice. It is not something you feel on your good days when the work is rewarding and the people are grateful. It is something you choose deliberately and painfully on the days when the work is invisible and the people are cruel. Compassion is not the warm glow you feel when someone says thank you. Compassion is what you do when they don't. Now let me tell you something about shame, because shame is the invisible engine driving almost every act of disrespect you have ever experienced. Shame is not guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am something bad. And when a person lives inside that shame, when they wake up every morning carrying the weight of believing they are fundamentally unworthy of love, fundamentally broken, fundamentally not enough, they cannot receive goodness easily. In fact, goodness terrifies them. Because if someone is being kind to them, their shame immediately starts whispering, this is a trick, this won't last, you don't deserve this, destroy it before it destroys you. So they do. They destroy it. And the people who are offering kindness walk away confused and hurt, wondering what they did wrong. You did nothing wrong. You walked into someone's shame storm and got caught in it. That is not your failure. That is the reality of doing deep human work in a broken world. But I also need to say this because your humanity matters too. You are allowed to have limits. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to step back from relationships that are damaging your mental health, your emotional well-being, your sense of self. Boundaries are not the opposite of compassion. They are the foundation of it. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot light other people's darkness if you have extinguished your own flame. The bravest thing you can do is not to give endlessly without limits. The bravest thing you can do is to stay connected to your own worth while extending compassion to someone who is struggling with theirs, to say, I see your pain, I understand why you are acting this way, and I care about you, and I am not willing to let your pain become my identity. I am not willing to let your wounds become my wounds. That small, powerful word is where real wisdom lives. You can hold both truths at the same time. You can love someone and have limits. You can care deeply and walk away. You can be the most compassionate person in the room and still say, this is not something I can continue to do. Because here's what happens when you don't hold both truths. When you give without limits, without boundaries, without protecting your own heart, you don't just hurt yourself, you actually harm the person you are trying to help. Because you start to resent them. And resentment is the enemy of genuine connection. You cannot truly help someone you resent. You cannot truly care for someone you are bitter toward. And that bitterness is not weakness, it is a signal. It is your heart telling you that somewhere along the way you stopped showing up for yourself. I want to talk about courage for a moment, because courage is at the center of all of this. We have a confused relationship with courage in our culture. We think courage means being fearless. We think it means charging forward without doubt, without hesitation, without pain. But real courage, the kind that changes lives and transforms communities and heals broken people, is much quieter than that. Real courage is the teacher who walks back into that classroom on Monday morning, even though Friday was devastating. Real courage is the parent who knocks on the closed bedroom door one more time, even though it has been slammed in their face 100 times before. Real courage is the social worker who drives back into that neighborhood knowing that nothing they do may be acknowledged or appreciated or even noticed. Real courage is staying human in environments that are trying to make you hard. And it is hard. It is so hard because every time you show up for someone who doesn't appreciate it, you are putting your heart on the line. You are making yourself vulnerable in an environment that feels deeply unsafe. And vulnerability, genuine, honest, open-hearted vulnerability is the most terrifying thing a human being can do. Not because it is weak, but because it is so completely devastatingly honest. When you show up with your whole heart, you are saying, I see you, I believe in you, I am here. And when that is met with hostility or disrespect or silence, it cuts right to the bone. But here's what that vulnerability does that nothing else can do. It creates the possibility of connection, not the guarantee, the possibility. And that possibility, that tiny crack of light in someone's darkness, is worth more than you will ever fully understand, because you may never know the moment your presence made a difference. You may never know the exact Monday when the student who never thanked you decided to stay in school because of something you said. You may never know the Tuesday when the family member who pushed you away called someone instead of giving up on themselves. You may never know the Wednesday when your quiet consistency finally reached something inside a person who had convinced themselves they were unreachable. You may never know. And that is perhaps the hardest part of all, doing work that may be invisible for people who may never acknowledge it, with outcomes you may never witness. That requires a kind of faith in human goodness that is almost radical in today's world. But it is not naive, it is not foolish, it is not weakness. It is the most powerful force on earth, the quiet, stubborn, relentless belief that people can change, that broken things can heal, that walls can come down, that the most guarded heart, given enough time and enough patience and enough genuine human presence, can learn that it is safe to open. Now, I want to leave you with something important before I close, something honest and necessary. Not everyone will change. Not everyone is ready. Not everyone will ever say thank you. And there will come moments in your life when you have to make the hardest decision a compassionate person can make, the decision to step back, not in anger, not in resentment, not in judgment, but in love. To say, I have given what I can give, I have shown up as fully as I am able, and I am releasing this person with love to their own journey because I cannot walk it for them. That decision is not failure. That decision is wisdom. It is the recognition that you are a human being with limits, not a bottomless resource. and that your worth is not measured by how much you can absorb. Your worth is not determined by whether the people you help learn to appreciate you. Your worth is not contingent on their gratitude, their growth, or their respect. Your worth is inherent, it is unconditional, it belongs to you completely, permanently, regardless of what anyone else does with the love you offer them. So show up, set boundaries, stay human, choose courage over comfort, extend compassion while protecting your heart, believe in people's capacity to grow while accepting that their timeline is not yours to control. And on the days when the work is invisible, when the people are difficult, when the disrespect makes you question everything, remember this: the fact that they need you and cannot yet respect you says everything about their pain and nothing, absolutely nothing about your worth. We started today with a question: what if the people who need you most are the ones who respect you least? And the answer, when we look at it honestly, when we sit with the discomfort of it, when we allow the complexity of human pain to be exactly as complex as it actually is, the answer is yes, they are. And that truth, rather than being a reason to give up, is actually the most powerful invitation to keep going. Keep going, but with wisdom. Keep going, but with boundaries. Keep going, but without losing yourself in the process. Because the world doesn't need martyrs. The world needs brave, bounded, compassionate human beings who refuse to let other people's pain turn them hard, who refuse to let ingratitude make them cold, who refuse to let disrespect make them stop believing in the fundamental worthiness of every human soul, including their own. The world needs people like you. And the fact that you are here listening, thinking, feeling, that already tells me something important about who you are. You are someone who cares. You are someone who shows up. You are someone who is willing to do the hard, invisible, courageous work of loving people who don't yet know how to receive it. That is not ordinary. That is extraordinary. And don't you ever let anyone, not even the people you are trying to help, make you forget that.